very good afternoon. I know I'm probably holding you back from your lunch, so I got to make it a little quick. We heard about the promises, the strengths of Bangladesh. Allow me to share a humble story that was founded by Palak Seth as to how one can actually make a very profitable and big business out of it, and at the same time contribute meaningful to the society. How do I change? Yeah, thank you. As PDS is a listed company, allow me to stress on the safe harbor statement over here. Who is PDS? We are a one-stop shop, single window solutions to various needs of the retailer. What I mean to say here is we will manufacture goods for you. We will design goods for you and bring them to your doorstep from about 600 partner factories across the world. We look upon you, we kind of encourage you, we take your time more towards your core activities of interfacing with the retail customer. Leave the back end to us. So if you want us to manage your Bangladesh office or Sri Lanka office or India offices, as one of our offerings, sourcing as a service, we will manage that office for you as well. Plus, if you have an excellent footfall, a good loyalty program, a good understanding of the consumer, allow us to support your efforts in launching brands inside your stores. Or if you already have a brand, then while you focus on the front end of the brands, we will manage the entire back end of designing the brand or handling the sourcing for that brand so that it can be brought very meaningfully to your stores. This is who we are as a company in terms of our offerings. And how do we do it? We have about 60 offices in 22 countries. We have about close to 10,000 people working across, close to 7,000 workers. The number is only increasing, and about 3,000 people across all these offices. And we have a strong team of 250 designers working all across, a strong team of 200 compliance professionals. And what is important is every day, on a single day basis, 1 million of garments are manufactured across the world, and PDS enables to bring it to your doorstep. So close to 365 million garment pieces is what PDS is handling annually for you. And as Palak was covering, and also he mentioned that Bangladesh, in terms of exports, largely focuses on EU and UK, and that's where 77% of what we sell and our annual gross merchandise value today, as I'm talking to you, is about $2 billion. 77% of that is channelized to our retail consumers or customers in UK and Europe, about 17% in US, and balance in the rest of the world. It's very interesting that as a company, as a group, we originate from India, but where we source from is largely Bangladesh. That is somewhere a reflection of the strengths this geography has to offer to manufacture garments and exports. And we pretty much cater to men and women as about 2/3 of the categories, and remaining 15 to 20% as kids. And very interestingly, Harvard did a case study on PDS. If you see at the bottom of this slide, that a company has been made with such geographical spread, and we call ourselves as a federation of entrepreneurs. If there is an entrepreneur, a retail professional, a manufacturing sourcing professional, then PDS would like to bring them on board. It's like a plug and play, offer them a profit share, and therefore together with them take the journey ahead. And we have about 55 such entrepreneurs working across the platform who together are generating about $2 billion of annual revenue. And this is just a glimpse of our global footprint. What you see on the red is actually a front-end location closer to the proximity to the customer, and what you see as the black is a manufacturing or a design hub. You can see the concentration of black is more toward the eastern part of the world, and as we are gradually moving to the western part, it's a consumption piece. So that's how PDS is well organized, trying to channelize the garments from the eastern part of the world to the big consumption markets of UK, Europe, and then US as well. And when we do this, as I was saying, there is a battery of 250 design professionals working across. There is a 600 global partner factory network working across as well. And PDS, when it is bringing garment to you, is also bringing a representation to you that the garment that is coming to you is coming through a fully compliant value chain. We make sure that any factory that PDS works with is taken on board through a rigorous at least 6 to 12 months of onboarding process, wherein a retail customer actually blesses, yes, this factory is good, and then PDS takes over the responsibility through its fleet of 200 compliance professionals that the factory always remain compliant. That's who we are in terms of taking the responsibility of bringing garments to you. And these are some of our leading customers, the retailers across the world to whom we cater to. And I'm very proud to say that we're not just a supplier, we're increasingly a strategic supplier to our customer, wherein we are engaged with them. And for the want of a better word, we focus on a retailer's pain is actually my gain. Kindly give it to us in terms of any back-end activity that we have, that you have, we will manage it for you, and we'll try to do it in a very, very compliant manner. And as I was saying, this is the fleet of designers that work across, and we have a good presence in the 10 thriving locations where the consumption is happening across the world. And I was touching upon an offering of ours called Sourcing as a Service. You see some leading global retailers out there, brands or the hypermarket or the fashion stores. What we do as Sourcing as a Service is, for Hanes, for example, the entire sourcing from Bangladesh is actually managed by PDS. Any factory who wishes to work with Hanes has to work through our offices in Bangladesh, wherein we will channelize the output to Hanes offices across the world. Likewise for Ralph Lauren, and likewise for many other retailers across the world. PDS spotted this as a new offering because during COVID times and thereafter, there is a need for our retail customer to focus on their core offerings, and that is where we step in. And also, the Honorable Minister, sir, here our endeavor is that there are a lot of small and medium enterprises who otherwise might not be able to come up to meeting the various expectations, whether it is compliance, quality, or just in time, or even the working capital financing. That's where PDS steps in, because we have $500 million of trade limits from leading global banks, wherein we will facilitate for a garment manufacturer to get an access to fabric, to get an access to trims, to make sure the working capital is financed, and then we bring it to the consumption part of the world. That is somewhere a humble contribution to the RMG industry in Bangladesh. And as we do this, while PDS does about $2 billion of annual gross merchandise value, we have about 3 factories, 2 in Bangladesh and 1 in Sri Lanka. And once again, Honorable Sir, originating from India, PDS is choosing to invest into manufacturing and chooses Bangladesh as the #1 location to invest 2 factories in, one in the tops and one in the bottoms. That's where is our humble testimony or acknowledgement of the strengths of the RMG industry of Bangladesh. And thereafter, we invest into Sri Lanka as well. So these are our 3 factories. Our endeavor is that all these 3 factories should always embrace the best, highest standards in terms of quality, in terms of compliances, or any safety norms. And apart from running these factories in a commercially viable manner, and kind of about close to 6,000 workers who are working there, we are also committed to the environment. And I'm very proud to share that in our Progress factory, which is the factory in the Adamzi export zone, Good Fashion Fund funded us for a wash plant. Prior to this investment, the garments that were getting manufactured were stepping out of the export zone, getting it washed through a third-party facility. PDS felt that there is a room to reduce 50% consumption of water. And that is where we took a project to invest into our own washing facility. And we were very, very fortunate that the Good Fashion Fund emanating from this part of the world spotted this as a very, very eco-friendly social initiative. And that's where PDS Progress Factory became the first ever factory funded by Good Fashion Fund in Bangladesh. In fact, that's another strength that as any one of us is aspiring to build a great business out of Bangladesh, not only you have a lot of geographical, demographics, or economic benefits, you have best in the world in terms of funding institution, also having a presence there. You have a viable project, there is funding waiting for you to be tapped and kind of do a partnership over there. And our other factory, Green, in the Ghazipur area, is while it's doing about $45 million of turnover every year, close to about 900,000 pieces of garment. But what it is doing is if there is water from the steam, it is plowed back to boiler. If there is water, it is used in harvesting. If there's a wastewater, it is cycled as well. And once again, as part of a continuous endeavor to contribute to the environment around, I'm very pleased to share that it is just about yesterday that there was a solar power 1 megawatt facility at the rooftop in a green factory that was commissioned. Now this is 100% on green power. So one factory of ours in export zone has a good fashion funded project for 50% reduction in the water consumption. And the other factory in Ghazipur actually has solar power to kind of totally replace power from any other source and be 100% compliant and contributing to renewable energy. And these are some very important 4 pillars of the PDS building blocks in terms of ESG. When I talk about the respecting water, that's where the good fashion funded project comes in, 50% reduction in the water consumption. When I talk about building community, we have fair price shops in our factories. We are also sponsoring and funding education for underprivileged children in Bangladesh. That is our contribution to community. And when it comes to Think Circular, ladies and gentlemen, PDS has funded 2 companies, one by the name of Yellow Octopus and the other one by the name of Upcycle Labs. As you know, that even after end of season sale, there are a lot of leftover garments, and typically they would tend to go into soil, and that's a big hazard to the environment. Yellow Octopus, 50% owned by PDS, actually take over those leftover garments and try and bring them to East Africa or East Europe or somewhere in the world where there is still a consumption left over at a price point. So we are preventing that garment from getting into soil by about 6 to 8 months. And our contribution does not even end there. Even after that 6 to 8 months, when it is ready to be crushed and again getting into soil, we invested into a technology in Nottingham in UK, whereby this can actually be crushed with mixing a chemical, and then you can actually have anti-combustible bricks or artifacts made out of that as well. So that is how PDS is very, very responsibly working to the entire value chain to make sure that as there is a $2 billion turnover getting generated, at the back end, whatever is getting into it is being done in a fully compliant manner. And finally, when I say reduce emissions, that's where the power, solar power in our Sri Lankan factory, solar power in our Ghazipur factory is actually working towards reducing emissions as well. And normally companies contribute 1%, 2% of their profits to a corporate social responsibility. PDS, Honorable Sir, allocates 20% of its capital employed to such initiatives, whereby if there is a seed, cotton seed, getting into soil, water is getting consumed, is there a technology somewhere by a smart young kid from Harvard or Stanford that we can fund? And that technology, when taken to a commercial activity, can reduce water consumption. So all such similar initiatives across, wherein PDS goes on its own invest, or PDS partners with private equity funds who are focused on such initiatives. And I'm very proud to say, today we have close to $20 million plus from our balance sheet, which actually has gone into such initiatives of having a RMG connotation at the same time, an ESG agenda to reduce impact on the environment. And this is some of the glimpses of the children that we support in terms of education and their well-being in Bangladesh as well as in India as well. And last couple of slides, I think we touched upon, we heard various experienced and illustrious speakers on advantages of Bangladesh. And somewhere when I said that while there is a $45 billion plus annual garment export, the number is only growing, PDS very humbly channelizes 1.2 billion out of it. And Honorable Sir, it has actually doubled over the last 5 years or so. We were about 600 million 4-5 years back, and we are today at about 1.2 billion, and only about 100 million comes from our own factories. The balance 1.1 billion is actually from the factories who aspires to sell to UK, Europe, and US, and probably has somewhat lack of means, and that is where we step in through supporting them to working capital, through compliances, through making availability of workers, garments, and so on. That was I just covered. As I said, I'm the one holding you back from lunch. So I covered the gist of these slides, which were over there. So friends and colleagues, Bangladesh is awesome, second largest garment exporting nation. And Palak Seth had a vision and could actually institutionalize a $2 billion business annually, 60% coming out of Bangladesh. And today this business is very much valued at the stock exchanges as a very profitable business, but very humbly, always focused on the customers and at the environment. And I will just, this is the last slide I wanted to share with you, that we have doubled what we channelize from Bangladesh, 600 to 1.2 billion. And given our strategic intent, it is our humble promise to the Commerce Minister that in another 3-4 years, PDS is very confident should be able to double up this number to about $2 billion of RMG export to various parts of the world. Thank you so much.